Coach Mike Kazza here. If you drove in your car with the emergency brake on, you're going to expend a lot more energy due to the restriction. Athlete's body's kind of the same way. We're talking about the legs working through the hips. If all the supporting muscles in the hips are tight, there's a lot more restriction, which can affect the athlete's running mechanics and overall speed. So spending some time stretching out the hips is important for better function. The hips break the body into two halves. For that reason, there's a lot of stress that acts upon the hips, playing sports, and just in everyday life as well. I'm going to show you two stretches to improve the mobility in the hips and overall function. So the first one would be just a kneeling hip flexor stretch. So positioning my front leg at 90 degrees, my back knee under my hip, I'm just going to shift my hip towards my front shoe, keeping my shoulder over my hips to create that stretch in my hip. All right, so I'm gonna push forward, and then I'm gonna flex my hips back, and I'm just gonna repeat that in a more movement-oriented fashion. Since athletes move in sports, the muscles lengthen and shorten repeatedly. So we wanna make the stretching the same way, a little bit more movement-oriented, it's a little bit more applicable to sports performance. I would do about 10 or 15 reps on each side. Second stretch would be hip circles. So I'm gonna get down on all fours, make sure my hands are under my shoulders, my knees are under my hips. I'm gonna kick my heel up to the ceiling and swing my leg out and around. Okay, so I'm getting this free swinging leg action as I keep my hips level to the ground. I would do about 15 reps of those, feeling that freedom of movement and starting to open up my hips for more efficient movement.